because there is a checklist that we use here for Engage New York.
Mm-hmm.
But because this was introduced to us, and it does align, but this one is a little shorter.
Okay.
And the students were able to go, before they did the final draft, they were able to check off, you know, to find out if they had everything.
Yeah.
But because Engage New York does have it, but race is much easier to me.
To you.
Yes.
Okay.
And I think it would be easier for the students.
Okay. I like that feedback, Ms. Jack, and hopefully that'll help Ms. Vidalia, because Ms. Vidalia said she used the writing method that was in Engage New York, and the students struggled quite a bit with it. So hopefully this strategy might be something that we could use. And I want to put on there real quick, remember I told you that I changed it from, or we changed it from race to racist. And this is just how it looks. So the S is just sum it up. Conclusion. As you can see, in conclusion, to sum up.
Oh, I forgot to say this. I did have two students, this one and one other student, that said, one person said in the introduction, today I will be telling you about. In this child's paper, she said, now I told you how trade is important. They still with the I have told you instead of the sentence starters that we've been given. But then again, we did not, for her in the conclusion, I can understand because we did not talk about the conclusion in isolation.
So what do you think that we could do in order to guarantee that they kind of stay on topic and do what is expected of them?
I think once we introduce the S with the sentence starters, they'll be okay. Because most of them that we're doing now today, I will tell you about, they scratched it after they saw the sentence starters. It was just that one student that did it. So I think once we introduce the S, she'll be okay. And she did it one other time. In the picture, I said something, and I was like, do we need to say that? And she's like, no, I need to use the sentence starter. So
how does she know how to use the sentence starter?
When they look at the anchor chart, like I just hung the anchor chart up, and they know, okay, when R, A, I can say I think or I believe, and they put it for the most part. The text says that they do have some issues with, they put the quotations on the outside of the text says, but they don't put it at the end of the sentence.
Yes.
So, and then somebody had it around the text. So other than those few little things, they're coming up.
So I'm sure you fixed that whenever y'all were analyzing the writing. Yeah. Excellent job. So what I'm hearing you say is that those students are constantly referring back to that anchor chart, having those internal summaries of what is expected of them when they write. Check, check. And this right here too is another internal summary that they're going to use to constantly ask themselves questions to guide them with their writing. Okay? So y'all can analyze, probably you have time for like two or three writings you should be able to analyze using the writing check.
I have one last question.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's just with the answer the question.
Yeah.
That kind of confuses me there with the restate right above it, because it seems to me that the answer to the question kind of flows right into the restate, and you would a lot of times end up with one sentence that way. Are we specifically looking for two sentences, one that specifically restates, one that specifically answers, or is it okay for them to restate and answer? You know, I'm not sure.
No, it's okay. Ms. Jack had asked the same question. Ms. Brooks had answered it, and I thought she gave a sufficient answer. I think it's based upon what you think is best for your kids. And not just all kids. I would stick with this holistically. When Ms. Brooks is going to a conference, and she has those writing conferences, when you have that conference one-on-one and you know that kid is struggling to understand that there's a difference between the two, connect it. I mean, if you're doing it right, connect it. But I would not address the whole class and say, yeah, let's put the two together. Because then you have some students that can't, that need the separation.
Because I'm trying to figure that out, because we're breaking it down this week. But like today is restating and understating how to read the prompts,
Right.
because before we can really get into the strategy, they have to know
How to answer the prompts, right?
You know, so I'm trying to break that down so they can figure out what they need to restate.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted, so when I'm addressing the class, I should do restate as one and then answer as another.
Correct. And remember to focus on when you underline that question. Remember, in the writing prompt, sometimes it's not a question, but there's something that's asking you to do. Yeah. So I would underline just that.
That's what they need to understand. That's what they're having problems with, because when we don't see the question mark.
Yeah. So we can say restate the question or what it is that it's asking you to do. That was a good one, Ms. Medallion. Thank you. It's asking you to do two different things. Now, with the two different things, we're getting into a whole nother ballpark here. But with the two different things, what a good writer would do is separate their thoughts. They would write upon one topic, and then they would write upon another topic, and then exactly that's when you're moving into your two paragraphs. So, Ms. Jack, I would encourage you to possibly alter it to where it's not two parts, so that they can focus on just writing that one cohesive paragraph. That would be my suggestion. Y'all asked some good questions. Any other questions? Okay. I want to at least get a chance to come by and see y'all do two think alouds of y'all's the writings. Okay, y'all can begin.
So, I start with the writing prompt, not like that. This was before we tweaked the rubric that we have now. We have 7 parts, which is this green paper, and we had them go through and check off and make sure that they had it right. And she was for a similar because she didn't have a conclusion. She had she had 3 A's and she had 3 C's. So this is what we realized that none of everybody was coming in the 3 A's.
I mean, the thread over the course of several lessons.
She was basically.
So I actually had to kind of go ahead and look at what the prompt was going to be when they were doing their organizer.
And I think she gave
I had to introduce the topic to them. I can't say do a graphic
So that's when
or a paragraph about the topic. So they knew ahead of time their topic was how bullfrogs
So
survive.
with the new checklist,
They went through and did that.
we looked,
And like I
we
said,
had her to write it again.
the biggest
So
problem for them
Trey
is
was
getting
important
it
to the
from the
colonists
graphic
and the
organizer. They have the
she has a
topic,
clear
but
introduction.
they figure, a lot of them in their heads, they're going, okay, well, how will frogs survive? That's my topic sentence. And it's getting them to realize that, no, how will frogs survive is not a topic sentence. You're actually almost asking a question again. And like I told them, I said, how is a question word? Not, you're asking a question.
So she got your one check.
So for some of them, I did have to go in and sit down with them and say, okay,
And see, she
how do
put
bullfrogs survive? And we had to
this is
flesh
because
out
the
the topic
cognitive
sentences.
is like
So
metal
for
to
this one,
cloth in first.
she said
She's
bullfrogs
explaining
survive by
to help them
using
survive.
parts of their
So
body.
she gets her first
So
concept
she
word.
did restate,
Mm-hmm.
but
In the
she also
picture, it
answered
shows
within
the
that. So for
mix
that,
of
I
the
was like,
cloth
check
to
that
it.
worked.
That's her.
And we weren't specifically doing the race strategy,
This shows
but
the
No.
picture the man was giving
So
the
then,
women cloth.
next she goes to
It
like
said
their
they
tongue to
traded for
eat their
cloth,
food,
and I'm not
like
sure, they didn't say
crayfish,
anywhere in
moth,
the picture,
and
so
other
she kind of
bullfrogs.
confused me right there, but for the
She
most
kind of
part,
combined
she was
every, I
able
can
to
see what
explain
she's,
what was going on in the
knowing
picture.
her, I see what she
So
did.
that's her.
She was saying the
The other
evidence
states,
that they use parts of their body
and
is
she
their tongue eats
erased
the
this right here.
food.
They taught the colonists to hunt
Mhm.
animals
And
and
then
how to grow crops.
She explained it that the food that they eat
And I can stop right
was
here
the
because
crayfish, the moth,
her
and other bullfrogs.
Citations are
So
not
that's kind of there, but
text,
you need to
picture,
show
or
her,
picture,
okay,
text.
let's
She did
separate this
text,
out, let's
picture,
flesh
text,
this
which is
out
fine
into
because she
separate
still met the
sentences.
criteria
Yeah.
Give me
of
an
having her
evidence
three
sentence, give me an
her- yeah,
explanation
her
sentence,
three
give me
details.
So
And
let
now
me
I'm
ask
talking
you
about
this:
today.
would you,
Should it be
how
one
would you,
detail
or
from the
Ms. Smith,
picture,
you can
two
chime in
details from the
too.
text, because that's
Would
what
you
the
give her a
direction
check
said,
for, or does she
or
have
however
evidence
they
to
see
support her
fit. I
topic?
feel like if they have the 3 details, it doesn't matter what order it's in.
I
Because
feel,
what if she went to the passage first?
yes, because
The
she
picture
says,
is
like
first
her
and not on
tongue,
the text, but what if she went to the passage first
But
to
she
answer the
didn't
question?
use any transition word.
no, there's no
So she
transition
said
words, they wouldn't get
Native
anything for
Americans
transition
taught to plant
words.
turkeys and deer, and they taught them
You
how to
know,
grow crops like corn, beans, and squash. This is her
Like
E,
it is
but she
evidence
did
from
not
the text.
say,
But
this means, or this is because.
She's not
But I still gave it
stating
to her because
that this
she
is
has evidence to
Exactly.
support
She's
that
almost,
she understood what she said.
she's almost more
on her
giving me
third
the
piece of evidence.
explanation
So
than the
that's her
evidence.
E3.
And
It's like she skipped the evidence and went straight to the explanation.
It's misconstrued. Like you can understand it because you're her what? Teacher, you just said
This
it.
is because.
And so would I give it to her?
No.
This shows.
And I would explain to her why
so
I'm
she
not
has
giving
her
it to her.
transition words. So she would get her 3 checks for that. Did she use
That's
specific
what I was
vocabulary
Thinking
from the passage? She talked about the colonists, the Native Americans. They needed to survive. They had tools like cloth and furs. She talked about
After you
after we've gone through all
beans
of
and
that,
squash, the type of crops that they grew. So she
you've learned the race
overall
strategy.
used the
Let's do this
specific language and
according to
vocabulary
what
from the
you've
passage.
learned this week.
And then her
Let's
conclusion,
redo
she
your
says, now I told you how trade is
and see
important
what
to
they can
colonists
because
and
I
Native
remember
Americans.
reading this in the story.
I'm going to put a
But
note
she
in
needs
that
to know how
column
to connect
because
Exactly.
she did not
in
sum
her
it up
explanation,
to
And it's
and
the
why.
same
answer.
right here.
However, she attempted the conclusion. We did not discuss conclusion at all yesterday. So she attempted it,
And then look how she's
but she
writing,
did not.
like she's listing
She didn't master
things.
that. She didn't
Well,
master
this was
Where?
also to remind them how to do every other line.
That's okay, and I get that.
Right.
But this is what I was thinking. Remember, she said that she's using that body part to survive. So I'm thinking, what body parts? Well, she said the tongue here, and what is it? The eyes there, right? Okay. So then that was the evidence from the text. So then she needed to explain how he used the tongue. He used the tongue or the long right.
Exactly.
It's sticky tongue or something like that.
And she didn't give me any specific language or vocabulary
No.
from the text, so she wouldn't have gotten anything because there's no conclusion.
You know, it
So,
was
I mean,
already
definitely these
before
last
the
three
quiz, I
ones
went
are
back
off.
and checked.
So I know this may seem like
They were able
this is
to
a lot to
I have my
attack all at one time.
I have my
No, but
I
we're
have my
taking it.
And for the ones that did not have
Yes.
much evidence, we had a C1,
Especially like today,
A1, a
because
C2,
we're
and an
restating,
E2.
and I just want them to restate their right.
Martel was missing the detail of the picture, but he had everything else labeled. And he didn't have his conclusion, which I didn't expect him to have, because we talked about that as after the fact. But he had his stuff labeled. So they're doing,
So you went through the S already?
no, I did not.
Oh,
I did not. And I didn't expect my students to have a conclusion, because we stopped at the after we did decide to explain, I was like, no, stop.
Kind of what I had to do.
Because get started with the conclusion, I'm a loser. I'm a loser. They're gonna be so focused on the conclusion, they not to be able to
Yeah,
cite.
and I was gonna,
So
exactly.
we stopped at that.
I was gonna
Now,
go
the
back,
next
that was what I wanted to
I'm
show
gonna
you, this
introduce
is what we
that
did, but
test
we need to.
so that they're able to write the conclusion. I can help them one-on-one with that conclusion. But yesterday, our
One
concern
more
was
suggestion, because
citing
Smith
and
made
explaining,
a
citing
good
and
one.
explaining,
She
citing and
said,
explaining, because they were
maybe
citing
make some notes on
three
them
pieces of
and then
evidence,
give
but they
it
were
to
only
them.
explaining
Same
one.
thing for
Thinking
you.
that that was
Make
their
your notes
conclusion
on
is
here
not-
and kind of
So she would
use it to reflect and kind of categorize them. Like this one can do the RA. This one can do RAC. You know, these can't even do RA. That way you group your students, and when you give your writing conferences, you'll know who to pull.
For each specific.
Yeah, for you know what I
For
mean.
each year. Yeah, this is kind of like a
I think
field
that'll
test.
help you,
I mean, if you're
because you're gonna attack it
spur of the
whole.
moment.
You're gonna
Because
have
I
to. You're gonna have to
there
do
was
it
some of my writers
well.
to look at,
because you got so
and I
many
was
different
like, we need
problems.
something to refer.
But you gotta categorize what's
I don't know if
problems.
the rubric is the right thing.
So that would be
That's
my
how we can,
suggestion.
like, literally
For
5
you.
minutes. we
But
came
as
up with
far
this
as that think
And
aloud,
that
I
between
think
yesterday
you know
we did
you're
this
on
and
the
we
right
went
track.
over it, we came up with this one.
Just make sure that you're requiring them to check along with you. You know. But that person did well.
What
As
I
far as the
see
RA.
may be able to do
And they
it
were asked to
because I was
write
gonna try to figure out how to do, okay,
essay
with
that responds
the rest
to
of
the
it,
following
answering,
questions.
citing, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to work on
What
one
are the
writing prompt for the rest of the week.
significant
What I can do is make copies of all of their
mythology
all of their papers and then hand them back to them, and as we go through for the rest of the week,
of mythology
they
in
just
the
say,
plot.
okay, then they answer, okay. And then we go through cite, explain, and then by the end of the week, they should have a whole new one that I can go through and kind of attach upon.
Sure.
Take
But
that.
it was
That would be
already
great.
outlined for
That would be great. And you know what? You don't have to stay married to that particular writing prompt. Once you've taught, explicitly taught race,
introduction.
why not introduce a whole new writing prompt?
Text.
Oh, no.
It might
I'm
be
thinking
fun.
I'm thinking for this.
No.
Definitely.
Yeah, you know, it might be they might be interested in it more. This one it might be a little redundant. They're like, yeah, I'm
And
tired.
a struggle for power.
So
And
think
those
about
were
that.
the
Okay.
two
Not
that
saying
you
that's
were
something that
looking
you have to
for.
do, just
Okay.
something you might want to think about in
To,
order to kind of motivate them.
And
Okay.
then he gave an important
Okay.
theme in this text
Mm-hmm.
is everyone has feelings.